Hello movie lovers, Bob for Bob's movie review here, and today I'd like to review for you a season I just watched called The Good Fight, Season 5. This one's provided to me for review by CBS. If you get a chance to check this one out, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I will include more information, include links to purchase one down in the description. Now, full disclosure, I have never seen The Good Fight before this season. I don't know what happened before this season. This is my first time really getting into it. I believe this is a Paramount Plus show because it has these really weird run times. I think they range from like 40 to like 56 minutes. So, you know, if you're on a streaming service, you don't really have exact time constraints on your run time. So I think that's why there are kind of these crazy different run times on the episodes. Now, this show is about a law firm, and one of the partners is Christine Baranski, and she is the white partner in a black firm. Now, to me, I did not care for all this talk about black firm. Like, it's just, I feel like it's kind of fighting racism with racism. Like, if you want to me personally, if you're like, okay, we want to have, you know, a wide range of ethnicities, and we want to hire more of different ethnicities and whatnot, like, that's cool. Like, I'm definitely for that. But, like, it just feels like fighting racism with racism. And it goes on through most of the season that they kind of want her to leave because she's, you know, high up in the firm and she's white and it's a black firm. And I just, to me, it was just, I didn't care for that. Like, I just don't care for, you know, saying you're this color, or, you know, you're this religion, or this, and this is why we don't want you, or this is why, you know, it's racist, right? You know, so I didn't really care too much for that aspect of it. So the very first episode is like a recap, and I could be wrong, but this is kind of what I felt, is that the previous year was kind of like the height of the pandemic, and so they probably took a year off, and they filmed this stuff to fill in that year. And it's like people quitting or getting fired, and like kind of almost everything shuts down from the pandemic. And even one person, you know, gets very sick with COVID. And it kind of just wraps that up in one episode. So now we start the season basically, and it's the bunch of new, young, fresh out of school lawyers. And they have this one young lady, and she really hits the ground running, and she gets some really high profile clients, and she's just kind of being like an all-star. And then they just kind of quickly drop that. Like, it's just kind of like not even part of the story anymore. She's not even in several episodes. And that seemed to be something they did a lot. They would start a storyline, and then just kind of, it would go away, or completely, or for a few episodes, and you're just kind of like, well, what happened to her? Why isn't she? I think she was going to be the new star, right? And then there was another woman who got fired. She was an investigator, I believe. And then she's like, I'm going to go to law school and become a lawyer. And so she's doing all this. Then they find out about this kind of fake court this guy had started. And I don't know if this was based on something that really happened, or they just kind of made this up. But it was basically like during the pandemic, towards the end of the pandemic or whatever, this guy created his own court. And basically both parties would sign an agreement to go by his ruling. So it's you know, like civil stuff, or just small claims court kind of stuff. And so to me that made sense, that, you know, they're agreeing to his decision. But then somehow it becomes like he's like trying people for burglary or theft or murder or whatever. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. He's not a real judge. It's not a real court. And then he even gets his own fake prison, and he's sending people to jail. And I'm like, that's kidnapping, right? That's not, these guys are going to go to jail for kidnapping these people. It didn't make sense. They went way too far with it, and I was very confused on that whole thing. So the woman who had just become a lawyer, or was in law school or whatever, she ends up working at that court, and I'm like, thought she wanted to be a lawyer. Like, it just spiraled out so crazily. So another kind of big thing going on is the kind of the end of Trump's presidency, and the beginning of Biden's presidency, they make it pretty obvious that they're pretty pro-Democrat, especially Christine Baranski's character. And I didn't care for it too much. I don't really like to get political or, get too much into that. But they just so hard beat in one-sided anti-Trump, pro-Biden. I don't care for that. Like, if you want to say, oh, your character's a Democrat and they want Biden to win and they hope Trump loses. Okay, but they made such a huge deal about it that it just, to me, it was over the top. To the point where, like, she was almost in tears, like, just thinking about that Biden wouldn't win. And people like this and characters like this who put all their hope and all their belief, and they're going to tell you all about it, that, it's Biden in this, but just whoever it is, whatever political character it is, or real person, that they're gonna turn things around and they're gonna fix things and they're gonna make things better. It never happens. They always have these hopes and they just never happen. And I never understand why people put so much trust in someone they don't even know. And then I got kind of thinking about it, because she's very hardcore Democrat and her husband is very hardcore Republican. And she kind of stabs him in the back, but they make it where she's not the bad guy because she's a Democrat. And so the things she does are just. And he says he might know who one of the January 6th insurgents is. And so she calls the FBI behind his back. And then basically he gets investigated by the FBI. And she becomes his lawyer. And there were more people at this kind of meeting, gun club shooting thing that the FBI wanted to investigate, and he wasn't going to turn him over. And she's like, oh, I'm your lawyer. I can't tell anybody, But I just did that. I just called the FBI to turn this guy in, but I wouldn't do that. And he refuses to tell her. So then she has somebody follow him. And it's all for the good, And I was just like, you're such a hypocrite. Like, I did not care for her character too much. Now for the things I liked, when they were actually investigating crimes or trying people. But that seemed to be such a small part of the show. It seemed more about the drama of the people who worked there and less about the cases. There were also some very confusing things to me. At one point, I thought I had put the wrong disc in because they have this client and he's in prison for murder. And somebody else is going to take the rap for the murder. And so this other guy admits to it. And then the very next episode, that client is out of prison, has somehow learned English, and is now suing the hospital because his daughter died of COVID. Which, okay, that's possible, but why is there no in between? It's such a huge jump. And it's really just kind of startling. I was like, this can't be the right disc. Appears to have been the right disc. And there were kind of a lot of things like that where I was real confused on what was happening. There's another scene later where a drug dealer's men get taken, and he kind of just jumps out of bed. Him and his wife are sleeping. He jumps out of bed. Next thing you see, he's in the lawyer's office. There's a ton of people there, and there's also another client there. And I'm like, is this the middle of the night and they're all there? Or is it the next day? And then after that, they show a scene outside and it's dark. I was like, what happened? I don't know. So I think this show is okay. I feel like a lot of times it just goes too over the top. It's way too political for my enjoyment. I don't care that much. I don't want to watch shows about people who let politics run their lives. So I give this a 3 out of 5. It was an okay show. There were definitely good moments. I did definitely stay entertained through the entire season. And so definitely some stuff that I liked and some stuff that I didn't like. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you haven't already subscribed for more videos, check the chess videos, and I'll see you guys next time.